The sky above Karachi was bruised with the last shades of dusk, a violet blue stretch folding into night. In the heart of the old city, where honking rickshaws tangled with the call to prayer and the scent of chai lingered like a forgotten promise, Saad leaned against the rusted railing of the hostel balcony. He lit a cigarette with fingers still trembling from rehearsal. His role in the upcoming university play had taken a toll on him, but that wasn't what truly occupied his mind. Inside the shared room, wrapped in loose cotton and sprawled carelessly across Saad's bed, was Ayan. He had headphones on, but he wasn't listening to music. His eyes were closed, lashes soft against brown skin, mouth parted slightly. Ayan had always known how to command a room without trying, without wanting to. He wasn't loud or arrogant, just inevitable. Like gravity. Saad turned away, exhaling a long ribbon of smoke, and tried not to think about what had happened last night, or worse, what hadn't. The door creaked when he re-entered. Ayan opened his eyes slowly, blinked, and offered a sleepy smile that undid Saad more efficiently than any script or line. "You okay?" Ayan's voice was a quiet hum. Saad nodded, then shrugged. "Just tired. Rehearsals are insane." Ayan sat up, letting the headphones slide off. "You looked good out there today." Even Farah stopped checking her phone. Saad chuckled, forcing ease into his voice. "Now that's an achievement." But the warmth didn't last. It never did. Ayan's gaze lingered a beat too long. Saad's heart pounded in the space between them, in all the things they didn't say. He moved to the window, needing the cool air again, but mostly needing distance. "You've been weird since the beach," Ayan said gently. Saad flinched. "I'm fine." "You're not." Ayan stood, crossed the room, and leaned beside him. "We kissed. It happened. I'm not pretending it didn't. Why are you?" The question sliced through the tension like broken glass. Saad's breath caught in his throat. The memory of that night, bare feet in the sand, laughter too loud, and then the silence after their lips met, burned through him. "Because it can't mean what I want it to mean," Saad said at last, his voice ragged. "Not here. Not now." Ayan looked at him, really looked at him, eyes filled with something fierce and fragile. "Then tell me what you want it to mean." Saad turned to face him, the city noise dull behind them, and whispered that it wasn't a mistake. Ayan didn't respond right away. His silence stretched, soft but heavy. Then, he reached out and brushed his fingers against Saad's wrist, a small, deliberate touch. The kind that says everything when words fall short. "It wasn't," he murmured. The air between them shifted. Something fragile had cracked open. Not enough to be safe, but enough to be real. A knock on the door shattered the moment. Saad pulled back instantly. Ayan stepped away, jaw tightening. "Come in," Saad called. Farah peeked in, eyes narrowed. "We need you downstairs. Final script changes." "I'll be there in a sec." She vanished. The door clicked shut again. Saad didn't look at Ayan. "I should go." "I know." As Saad reached for his bag, Ayan's voice stopped him. "You say anyone can be mad at you, but not me, right?" Saad froze. "That's what you said after the audition mess," Ayan added softer. "That night you thought I hated you." A smile tugged at Saad's lips, despite everything. "I meant it." "Then stop running," Ayan whispered, not demanding, just pleading. "Just stop." Saad didn't respond. He couldn't. But as he stepped into the hallway, the sound of Ayan's voice, shaken but steady, followed him like a shadow he couldn't outrun. The script pages fluttered in Saad's hand as he made his way down the dimly lit staircase. Each step felt heavier than the last, the echo of Ayan's voice still clinging to the walls of his thoughts. The common room buzzed with movement and half-shouted lines, but to Saad, it all blurred into background noise. He could feel it again, that tight pressure behind his ribs. The weight of wanting something too dangerous to name. Farah sat cross-legged on the carpeted floor, flanked by two juniors who were deep in a debate about blocking. She looked up when Saad entered and gestured him over with a flick of her pen. "Your last monologue's been trimmed," she said, handing him the new pages. "We need to tighten pacing before tech." He scanned the lines quickly, nodding. "Sure." She watched him for a moment too long, eyebrows knitting. You alright? You've been somewhere else lately. Saad managed a tight smile. Just tired. Farah didn't press. She never did. But she didn't look convinced either. He dropped into a chair and read through the edits, mouthing lines to himself, grounding each word like it was a lifeline. In the play, he was Elias, a young man stuck between duty and desire, forced to choose between societal expectations and the person he loved. The irony wasn't lost on him. Art imitating life had become more than a cliché. It was a suffocating mirror. Rehearsal began again. Lights overhead warmed the makeshift stage. Saad moved through his scenes, voice steady, posture sharp, but his focus drifted every time Ayan's name appeared in the script. The irony stung. Ayan had helped him rehearse these very lines only weeks ago, curled up on Saad's bed, their knees touching, laughter buried under tension neither of them dared address. Now, even the memory of that closeness felt dangerous, like fire licking too close to skin. When rehearsal ended 2 hours later, the group dispersed slowly. Farah was still muttering about light cues. Saad slipped out before anyone could corner him. Outside, the night was crisp. Clouds hung low over the city, threatening rain. He didn't want to go back to the room. Not yet. He wandered the campus aimlessly until he found himself near the empty amphitheater, a circular open space of cracked cement and wild grass. He climbed the center steps and sat. Footsteps approached, soft but certain. He didn't have to turn to know who it was. You always come here when you're spiraling, Ayan said as he settled beside him. Saad looked down at his hands. It's quiet. I know. For a while, neither of them spoke. Ayan leaned back against the stone, looking up at the sky. You were good tonight. I wasn't feeling it. You never do, when you're lying to yourself. Saad sighed. You make it sound so simple. It is simple, Ayan replied, voice even. We like each other. We want something more. You're just afraid of what comes after. Because I have to be. Saad turned to him, eyes burning. You think I don't want this? That I haven't played it out 1,000 times in my head? But this isn't some Netflix romance, Ayan. My family won't just come around. I can't be reckless with this. I'm not asking you to be reckless, Ayan said softly. I'm asking you to stop pretending it's not real. Saad's jaw tightened. The words hung between them, sharp and weighty. I'm tired, he whispered, of wanting things I can't have. Ayan studied him for a long moment, then stood up. Then maybe the problem isn't what you want. Maybe it's what you're willing to let go of. He started to walk away, but paused. When you're ready to stop being scared, he said without turning back, you know where to find me. Saad remained seated long after Ayan disappeared into the dark. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just sat there, heart loud in his chest, every word replaying like a scene he hadn't rehearsed for. And for the first time, the silence didn't feel safe. It felt like loss. The next morning broke with a reluctant sun, hazy and subdued. Saad stood before the bathroom mirror, toothbrush dangling loosely from his lips, his reflection distant and raw. His eyes were tired, rimmed with the remnants of a sleepless night, and every movement felt like a negotiation between memory and regret. Behind him, Ayan's side of the room was conspicuously empty, the bed neatly made, the books stacked with surgical precision. He hadn't come back after the confrontation at the amphitheater, and the silence left in his absence echoed louder than any argument could. Saad dressed slowly, slipping into the maroon kurta he usually reserved for formal events. Today was the university's Arts and Expression Showcase, and the Drama Society was headlining. A crowd was expected. Professors, alumni, even press. And yet, all Saad could think about was whether Ayan would show up, whether he'd sit in the audience and watch Saad bare his soul, or choose to stay away, leaving Saad to wonder if he'd lost something irreplaceable. Downstairs, the auditorium buzzed with pre-show chaos. Costumes were being adjusted, props misplaced and found again, last-minute notes flying like paper birds across the stage. Farah, headset on, was orchestrating the madness with her usual blend of sarcasm and control. Saad, you're late, she snapped, then paused when she got a proper look at him. "You all right?" He nodded, then shook his head. "Does it matter?" She tilted her head, her sharp eyes softening. "Only if you want it to." He didn't answer. Instead, he moved to the edge of the stage and looked out over the slowly filling seats. He scanned each row instinctively, hunting for a familiar silhouette. Nothing. Ayan wasn't there. Rehearsal began. Warm-ups, vocal stretches, positioning cues. Saad flowed through it all with mechanical precision, his focus narrowed to the script, the rhythm of movement, the pulse of the character he now wore like armor. He was Elias again, a young man breaking under pressure, daring to want more, terrified of the cost. It was a role Saad no longer had to imagine. Then came the performance. The house lights dimmed. The stage lights rose. Applause rippled faintly before giving way to silence, and the play began. Scene after scene passed, Saad delivering every line with a quiet fire. He forgot the audience. He forgot the fear. The world shrank to a spotlight, a heartbeat, a story that mirrored his own far too closely. And then, the final monologue. Alone at center stage, Elias looked out at a world that would not bend for him. His voice shook not from nerves, but from truth, and every word he spoke bled with honesty. "I was taught to be quiet, to be grateful, to want what I was allowed. But I want more. I want love that doesn't hide in shadows. I want to walk into light and not flinch." Saad's voice broke then. Not theatrically, not for effect, but because in that moment, the line between character and self dissolved. He stood there, trembling, exposed, breathing hard in front of a crowd that had no idea how much of him they were seeing. The lights dimmed. The applause was thunderous. Backstage, the cast swarmed around him, clapping, hugging, congratulating. Farah squeezed his shoulder, eyes shining. "That was your best performance. Ever." Saad managed a weak smile, but his gaze drifted past her, scanning again. Still no sign of Ayan. He slipped away quietly, escaping through the stage door into the cool twilight. The street was nearly empty. The wind had picked up, rustling leaves and whispering down corridors like an omen. Saad walked without thinking, his feet drawing him across campus until he stood outside the literature department, a place Ayan often lingered when he needed to think. The lights inside were dim, but a shadow moved past the window. Saad's heart surged. He pushed open the door and stepped into the corridor. There, seated alone on a wooden bench near the notice board, was Ayan. He was reading something, but looked up the moment he heard footsteps. Their eyes met. Neither spoke. Saad took a breath and crossed the distance between them. "I looked for you." "I was there," Ayan said quietly. "Back row, left corner." "You didn't see me." Saad blinked. "Why didn't you come backstage?" Ayan closed the book and set it aside. "I wanted to see if it was you, or just Elias up there." "And you didn't flinch." The silence that followed was no longer painful. It pulsed with something unspoken, but understood. "I meant what I said," Saad murmured. "Every word of it." "I know." Ayan stood slowly, his presence calm, anchoring. "I'm still scared," Saad admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I don't want to keep losing things just to feel safe." Ayan stepped closer, his gaze steady. "Then don't." The space between them dissolved. No kiss, no dramatics. Just two boys standing inches apart, closer than they had ever dared before, and not running this time. Not anymore. Later that night, the city sighed under the weight of rain. Not a storm, just a soft, steady drizzle that glazed the windows and pooled in the corners of silent courtyards. In the shared dorm room, dimly lit by a single yellow bulb, Saad sat cross-legged on his bed, still in costume. The maroon kurta clung damply to his skin where the sweat of performance had never quite dried.
He hadn't changed.
Somehow, shedding the costume felt like shedding the moment, and he wasn't ready to let it go yet. Ayan sat opposite him, hunched slightly forward, elbows resting on his knees. His hair was tousled from the wind, raindrops still lingering in its curls. Between them sat a half-finished cup of chai, cooling fast, untouched. I didn't think you'd find me, Ayan said finally, his voice low, almost lost under the patter of rain. I didn't think I would either, Saad admitted. But I kept walking and somehow it was the only place that made sense. Ayan smiled faintly. That's how I feel around you sometimes. The room fell quiet again, but this time it was full of something new, something neither of them had words for yet. The tension had softened, the sharp edges dulled. But the conflict hadn't disappeared. It had only shifted, moved deeper inside, where it was harder to ignore. Saad stared down at the chai, hands fidgeting. Do you think we're being selfish? Maybe, Ayan said. But I think we've earned the right to be. Saad looked up. What if I can't tell them? My family. What if I never can? Ayan didn't answer right away. His eyes didn't waver, but something behind them flickered. Disappointment, maybe. Or just the quiet ache of understanding. Then I'll wait, he said. But not forever. That sentence landed between them like a line drawn in the sand. Gentle, but immovable. I don't want to lose you, Saad said, the words spilling out before he could soften them. Then don't make me disappear, Ayan replied. Don't turn me into a secret that eats away at you. Because I've done that before, Saad. I've been someone else's shame. And I can't go through that again. Not with you. Saad's chest tightened. The honesty in Ayan's voice, stripped of anger but filled with hurt, forced him to confront what he'd tried to avoid. This wasn't just about risk or fear anymore. This was about love and the cost of living without it. He reached forward, slowly, unsure, until his fingers brushed against Ayan's. I don't know how to be brave like you, Saad murmured. Ayan tilted his head. You were brave tonight. On stage. That wasn't acting. Saad met his gaze. It was practice. Ayan's lips curved, but it wasn't quite a smile. Then keep practicing. With me. Outside, the rain thickened slightly, softening the city's edges, making the world feel smaller, quieter. In the shelter of their shared space, something fragile had been named. Not resolved, not yet, but named. And that mattered more than either of them had expected. A buzz from Saad's phone startled them both. He picked it up. Farah had messaged. Crowd still talking about your performance. The department head wants to nominate you for regionals. Proud of you. He stared at the screen for a moment, then passed it to Ayan without a word. Ayan read it and looked up. You should do it. I don't know if I can, Saad said quietly. Not without you. Ayan leaned back, expression unreadable. Then maybe it's time you stop doing things without me. That was the invitation Saad had been waiting for, simple, unpolished, true. He didn't answer aloud. He didn't need to. Instead, he shifted across the small space between them and leaned his head lightly on Ayan's shoulder. Ayan didn't move away. They stayed like that for a long time, saying nothing, letting the silence build something instead of destroy it. Two boys, caught between fear and possibility, holding on to the one thing neither of them wanted to give up. Outside, the rain washed the streets clean. Inside, the world had narrowed to a warmth neither of them thought they deserved, but neither was willing to let go of any more. And while nothing was certain for once, that felt like enough.